Hello guys, welcome back to Programylis, and in this tutorial we will learn how to set up automated deployments to server using only Git hooks. So before starting the tutorial, I assume that you have basic knowledge of how to set up a server, how to SSH into the server, and the basic knowledge of Git and Git commands. So now let's start with the tutorial. Now for the scope of this tutorial, we will deploy a simple Node Express app which has just one route and which just returns the status of the web app. So it's pretty simple and straightforward app with like 10 lines of code, and you don't have to worry if you are using Node or not. It is a generally a pretty streamlined process for any of the service that you want to deploy on the server. So for the server, I'll be using an EC2 instance that I have just spin up on the AWS cloud. And yeah, now we'll see how to automate the deployment process. So whenever you create a server on AWS cloud or any other cloud for that matter, you get a private encrypted key which you can use to SSH into the server. So for me, the key is here with the name of course-ec2.pem, and now we can use this key to SSH it into the server. So first what we'll do is we'll create a config file for it. So we'll go to home directory and .ssh folder, and there we'll create a file called config. So remember, there's no extension to it, it's just config. And for me, I'll use the nano text editor, and you can use any text editor you want. So here the first thing we'll provide is the host. That is what we want this host to be called. So I'll say it Programylis demo. You can say it anything, it totally depends on you. Then we'll set the identity file, that is the file, that is the private encrypted key that has been provided to you. So you have to provide the folder in which your private key is. For me, it is in documents, then SSH, and then course-ec2.pem. Next thing you need to provide is the user. So according to your service, you can have different user. So for me, the username is Ubuntu. And next thing you need to provide is the host name. That is the IP address of the server you want to log into. So for me, I can just copy my IP address from here, which is this. So I'll copy my public IP address and I'll just paste it here. The next thing you want is a flag which is identities only. So what it does, it tells your SSH client that only use the PEM file which you have provided in the identity file and don't use the default one. Now I'll control exit and I'll save the file. So now we can directly log in into the server by typing SSH and the hostname which we provided. So for me it is Programylis gem. And here you see I can directly log in into the server. So now I went ahead and installed all the dependencies that I'll be needing to run the server. So I've installed npm node npm2 that I'll be needing to run my node server. So now what we need is we need to create two folders on our EC2 server or the remote server. So first we'll create a directory with the name of node server, and we'll create another directory with the name of node server.git. So as you can see, both the directories have been created. Now we'll go inside the node server.git folder and we'll run the command git init -bear. So what it will do is it will create an empty git repository inside the folder. So now we'll come back to our local program and we'll see that all our files are here, and now we'll convert it into a git repository. So what we'll do is do git init, and then we'll add all the files with git add dot, and then we will commit the file with a message. So we'll do git commit -m, and then we'll specify a nice commit message which is created basic route to get server status or anything like that. And now I'll just enter my GPG password. So yeah, so now what we can do is we can add our EC2 server as a git remote directory. So what we'll do is git remote add and the name of the origin that we want to add, remote origin. So I'll use production. So git remote add production and then the address. So we'll do ssh / and then what the hostname that we used in the config file. So which is Programylis demo and then / and then you need to specify the path of the git folder on the server. So I'll just copy it and I will paste it here and then press enter. So now we have added this EC2 servers folder as a git remote for a local machine. So now we can just push all our code into the EC2 server by doing git push -u, the name of the origin which is production, and then the branch to push. So we'll push the master branch and press enter. So as you can see, all our files have been pushed. So now all our files should be present in this folder on the EC2 server. So now do ls into it. I'll just remove this. See, but what I see is not our files which I was expecting. So I was expecting files like index.js, gitignore, package.log.json, all these files to appear here. But here we see a different folder which we had branches, config, description. So to understand what is happening, we need to take a little bit of a deeper dive into how Git works. So inside our server, we have a .git folder, and inside this folder, you can see that there are all these different folders, and which is very similar to what we see on our remote server. So what happens is basically all these things that you see here is Git working tree, and this is called a Git directory. So Git working tree, what it helps to visualize your files and whatever changes you make in these files, and when you commit those files, it gets saved into .git folder. So .git folder basically contains all your files, the data of it, and all the versions of it, but it is present in a way which is not similar to how we see it in a working tree. So now what we need to do is we need to get that working tree back so that we can use it in server and serve our server. So what I'll do is I'll write a command which I'll go back into the folder which is node server, and then I'll write the command git -- work tree, and since this is the folder which is our work tree, but here we have to specify the absolute file path or the folder path. So we'll do /home /ubuntu and then /node server. So this is our working tree, and now we'll specify our git directory. So we'll do git -directory and equals to, and our git directory is node server.git. So we'll do /home /ubuntu and /node server.git and press enter, and then we'll also check out the master branch. So we'll do checkout -f and the master branch and press enter. And now when you see inside the node server, we see all the files which we're expecting. So now that I have my files here, I can just install all dependencies using npm install, and then I can start the server using pm2 start and then index.js. So it will start my server, and if I go back and visit my public IP address, so if I go here and visit it, I can see that my app is working. So now that I have this working, I don't want that every time I push to my EC2 server, I run the git worktree command again, then I go inside the directory, run npm install, and then stop the pm2 and then restart it again. This is too much work. So how can we automate it? And what if there was a shell script that could run every time we push the code to the server. So this is where git hooks come into play. So if we go back into a git directory and list all the folders, we see a folder called hooks. So now if we go inside the folder hooks and see, we can see we have all these files. What it basically means that if you remove the sample file, this is basically a shell script which would run before we type the commit message. So now there are two types of hook. One is the client side hook and one is the server side hook. So client side hooks are basically what runs on the client, and the server side hooks are which runs on the server. So we will use a server side hook which is called post-recieve, which means that once we have pushed the code to the server, and after it has been received, this hook will be run. So now we'll create a file called post-recieve. So nano post-recieve. Make sure that the spelling of receive is correct, which is RECEIVE, and inside this we'll create this script. So I'll just show you, and yeah, so this is the script. So first we specified our target directory, which is our git working tree. Then we specified our git directory, and these are all the ANSI codes for the colors. We don't need to know this. And then whenever this post receive hook will run, we'll get three things in it. We'll get the old revision, new revision, and the reference. Reference is basically, you can understand it in the way like which branch we are getting, and it is in the form of /refs, /head, and /master. So from that we can just split on the slash and get the third command from it. Now we will run the git work tree command, and after that we will go inside the working tree and run npm install to make sure that if we have added some new dependency, that gets installed, and then we will restart the server using pm to restart all. Now we will save this file, and to make this file executable, we have to add an executable permission to it. So we'll do chmod +x and then the file name, which is post receive. Yeah, so now we are pretty much done. So now we can come inside VS Code and we can change some line and see the latest code is deployed or not. Instead of the app is running, we can say the latest app is running. The latest app is working. And when we can save the file, and then we'll do get a dot, and then we'll let commit message -m, which is update response JSON. Enter the GPG key, and then we can push it to our production. So we'll do git push -u production and the master branch. So now you can see that whatever the script we told to run is now the output is also streamed to the client. So we can see that we run npm install, and then after it our pm2 server was restarted, and now the latest files are deployed. So now just we can go on the server, and now if we reload this, we should see the latest app is working. So now our automated deployment pipeline is set, and now anytime you need to deploy a new version, you just need to push to the origin, and it will automatically take care of installing the dependencies and restarting the pm2 server for you. So this approach can be used to deploy any application, be it a Node.js app or a React app or an Angular app or even basic HTML CSS. All you need to do is to change the logic inside the post receive hook. So considering in the case of React, you can do npm run build and build the React app there, and then you can push all those files to /var/www/html to be served using an Apache server. So this approach can be generalized to a lot of deployment scenarios, but keep in mind this approach is really simple for only one server, but if you have like multiple servers, this approach can be very tricky because you have to push to every server, and there are better solution than this. Now we have reached the end of tutorial. Thank you for listening till here, and if you have any doubt, you can just mention in the comments, and I'll make sure that I can help you. And if you like this content and you like more content like this and more awesome tutorials, you can consider subscribing the channel.